Here is my presentation on the classroom assessment technique number 34, Interest, Knowledge, and Skills Checklists. Interest, knowledge, and skills checklists are a technique that can be used to assess whether students are aware of how they carry out learning tasks and whether they accurately assess their own learning skills. Teachers want students to be able to self-assess their own learning and growth, which will in turn tell us what areas need further training. The teacher creates a checklist that lists the various course topics and associated skills, and the student rates themselves on the scale according to whether interest, knowledge, or skills is being measured. Experts recommend these checklist assessments for fields of education and psychology. Checklists can assist with a variety of teaching goals, like preparing students for transfer or graduate study, helping students develop a commitment to personal achievement and to their own values, cultivating students' sense of responsibility for their own behavior, and making students make wiser decisions. This assessment technique is more useful in courses with flexible syllabi, which incidentally is perfect for my workplace training. Interest, knowledge, and skills checklists work best if used at the beginning of the course, but I like that you can use it at the end of the course too, so you can see how the learners have improved. I think the checklist is perfect for my workplace for assessing the knowledge of our trainees before and after our training sessions. Using it before we plan training sessions allows us to see what areas are the biggest issues and determine how much time we should allocate to each. Using it after a training session will help us see how effective the training sessions were on the learners and how much they have improved. This assessment tool isn't without problems. The preparation of such checklists can be rather time-consuming on the teacher, along with the data analyzation at the end after the results are in. Another issue could result in the checklist finding that the learner's interests and needs don't align with the teacher's hopes and plans for the course. And lastly, the checklist results might actually be providing information about their self-confidence rather than their knowledge. Advantages of checklists are that they require low time and energy for the students to complete, which I think is great because we know that if teachers make an extracurricular activity difficult to complete, the students won't spend much time invested in the completion of it. As I mentioned earlier, the checklists offer an invaluable site on how to adjust teaching agendas rather than the guesswork of equal time blocks for each subject. I think it's great that teachers can approach a subject with a level of comfort, knowing that the curriculum is what the learners want or need. Teachers can easily see which areas on the checklist receive very high or very low ratings, and they can adjust their syllabus in response. This makes course planning and instruction more focused and effective. So what are some best practices for these checklists? According to information provided by BCIT, characteristics of checklists should be the fact that they're short enough to be practical, keeping it to one sheet of paper. They should have tasks chucked into logical sections or flow from start to finish. They should highlight critical tasks, and they should be written with clear, detailed wording to minimize the risk of misinterpretation. What are some of the best practices of rating scales? Rating scales should include clearly defined detailed statements, as this gives more reliable results. They should have statements that are chunked into logical sections or flow sequentially, and they should include clear wording with numbers when a number scale is used. For number scales, the range of numbers should be the same for all rows within a section, such as all of them being 1 to 5. They should also have specific, clearly distinguishable terms when using words. Using good and then excellent is much better than using good and then very good, because sometimes it's hard to distinguish between good and very good. They should also be short enough to be practical. Sometimes you can even have a column or a space for providing additional feedback for the learner to jot down anything they feel that you need to know. So how will I provide feedback? After I tally up the results from the checklist, I plan on putting the data in a simple graph like this one to show the class where the results came in. I think this feedback is important so that the learners understand why we may be spending more time on a subject than another and where their strengths and weaknesses sit amongst their peers. Although this feedback seems like it's being given from the top down, flowing from the teacher to the student, it's not actually crafted this way. Unlike the traditional model, it's the class who is appraising their own performance, and this feedback is their reflection and assessment of themselves. The hope is that learners will become more independent and adopt conscious and strategic goal setting. This concludes my presentation on classroom assessment technique, interest, knowledge, skills, checklist. Thank you for watching.